Hello and welcome to Fowl Plays, where we look at tales of tabletop tragedy that are sure to ruffle some feathers. I'm your host BossGoose, and in today's story, we have a player who joins a game but not the party as he rolls up an edgy lone wolf PC who plays by their own rules. I'm sure no one's surprised to learn that this does not go well, and forces the group to have to make some not so difficult decisions that leave everyone involved feeling angry, confused, and frustrated. But before we get started, it's time for a Yawn Tea Party. So you get your D20 ready and I'll explain the rules. We've just received a quest that we need to infiltrate the local Seth cult in the area and steal their ceremonial teapot. Lucky for us, they happen to be having a huge celebration tonight, which should make our job just a little bit easier. This will take a skill check using our disguise kit to let us blend in with the crowds. So go ahead and roll your dice and we'll check the results in 3, 2, 1, and as long as you rolled lucky number 13 or higher, then congratulations, we were able to slip in and out with relative ease and the operation was a huge success. There's going to be tea and cake for everyone when we get back to base. Unfortunately though, if you rolled below a 13, then they were able to see through our disguises and now plan to sacrifice us in their next ritual. Don't worry though, I was able to smuggle this subscribe button past them. And if you press it, then not only will you get updates whenever new content is available on my channel and easy access to dozens of additional stories, but it also doubles as a weapon and we can use it to fight our way free. And now, without any further delays, it's time to take your seats and wet your beaks as we dive on into today's tale. A few years ago, a friend started DMing a few short adventures / one-shots in Chult as a way to introduce new players to D&D and to eventually find a more permanent group. He created a quest where some Yuan-Ti cultists were planning an insidious plot in the city of Port Nyanzaru, involving some Yuan-Ti artifact. Being good little adventurers, we were to stop the cultist and retrieve the artifact. A group of new and experienced players gathered in the time-honored tavern to do the usual meet and greet. Things are going well until we get to the last player who describes himself as a very sexy and regal elf in the corner, but is hidden from the party so we actually don't know she's there. We'll call this player Me. Out of character, we double check if Me wants to join us, and he just insists that his character isn't there. When the party leaves the tavern, he has his character roll stealth, casts invisibility, and tells the DM he's following up. At this point, I'm just assuming Me decided to roll up a super emo lone wolf, and will join us in some manner that's 2 parts dramatic and 2 parts cringeworthy, so I brush aside the blazing red flag. The party tracks the cultists to a warehouse, and typical D&D mayhem ensues. Everyone's having a good time, but Me incredulously still hasn't joined the fight. Towards the end of the fight, a cultist gets killed and the Yuan-Ti artifact rolls on the ground. Me decides that now his character would run out, grab the artifact, and run away. Half of the players at the table were new and were dumbstruck. The DM, new at DMing, was equally dumbfounded and wasn't sure what Me was intending, so we let Me continue. It was also at this point that we learned that Me was using the UA Psionics class. You know, the super broken class that can do literally everything, cast spells, hit hard, evade. Using all the psionics' ridiculous ability to gain extra movement and invisibility, she dodged her way out of the warehouse despite some of the players trying to tackle her or cast fairy fire. She escaped into the night, and we were left wondering what to do as the session ended. I'd like to point out that this was not a special character designed by the DM to throw the players off in a wild expectation subversion. He was supposed to be another character in the party, working with the party in a game to get people introduced to D&D. When the entire table questioned why he would do such a thing, he replied along the lines of, "Well, that's my character. I'm a secret agent who picks her own missions, and I decided that I wanted to investigate this on my own." At this point, a pretty frustrated table heads home, but the DM pulls him aside for some extra game time since he wanted to interact with the artifact metagaming free. We learn the next session that the Yuan-Ti artifact charms people who touch it, and the cultists were going to use it to gain control of the city. Turns out, without anyone else around, Me's psionic character fails the saving throw to the charm and joined the cultists. Happy ending, right? Well, the DM told Me to make a new character that would actually work with the party, and work with them for this next session. A session he had to replan cause no one expected this to happen. Me rolls up a monk and tells us, "This monk is sent from the psionics organization. The psionic has gone missing." I thought she worked alone. "And I'm here to save her." He made his new character dedicated solely to saving his old one. There was no other purpose in that character. The character had no personality. When talked to, the monk sounded like a white knight soundbox, reiterating his only priority is to save the psionic. So, being the wise people we are, we decided to give him another chance and continue. We try to locate the artifact and investigate our way into the ruins of an old temple, with the cultists with the psionic. We start to fight, and turns out the psionic is equally OP at fighting, and starts wailing on us. The whole time, Mimi's yelling, "Don't harm her! Don't harm her!" We're level 2. We can't dispel that charm. Our best course of action is to thunk her so hard in the head that she'll wake up as a team player. So we start hitting her, telling him that we have to incapacitate her, not kill her, because the fight is not going well. At this point, he has his monk stand between his old character and the rest of the party, refusing to fight, while cultists are firing arrows and swinging at us, and his old character is still wailing on everyone. The ranger in our party eventually fells her with an arrow, and the DM asks if he wants to make this damage non-lethal. "No," said the fed-up ranger. Even with her down, we were losing the fight, so everyone starts bolting from the temple. Of course, Mimi has his monk pick up the psionic's body and runs out with us. Mimi is absolutely pissed and is telling the table what dicks we are for not making the psionic a priority. You know, the psionic that is debatably on our side and has actively worked against us. The rest of the table is livid. He just botched the entire fight and nearly got the party TPK'd. He left that evening in a huff. I'd also like to say that was the end of it, but there's a few threads of coincidence I learned about in the following weeks. Another friend happened to play one game with me about half a year prior. He said it was the cringiest table he was ever at. In this other game, with a separate DM, Mimi's good friend was the DM, and they made the entire game a Mimi filleting session. Mimi would do whatever ridiculous OP thing he wanted, and the DM would make sure that Mimi's ego would be graced with the attention and narcissism it deserved. That's fine if it's a one-on-one session, but there were other people there, just kinda sidelined. Needless to say, my friend didn't return for another session. As for the group, the DM quickly learned to make sure people's characters wanted to adventure and more or less wanted to work with the party. He handed the adventure off to me for the remainder of the campaign, where surprisingly, Mimi showed up a few sessions later for more shenanigans. Oof, by the end there, the word "me" was losing all meaning. This is a classic example of an edgy character done wrong. While the lone wolf mystery ally may work in shows or video games, it doesn't really mesh well in a tabletop setting, at least not how Triple Me was playing it. At the very least, even if there are ulterior motives, or if it's begrudgingly, you gotta join the party, or at least introduce yourself. Now, in certain situations, like say a guest player who pops in on occasion to aid the party and then leaves just as suddenly, you can build some intrigue there and have this mysterious character, but in a brand new game with new players and no collaboration with the DM, this was doomed to fail. Why? Well, because the party had no idea who this person was without using meta-knowledge, and when Triple Me had the opportunity to make a big entrance and show themselves to be an ally, they instead just stole what the party was after and bolted, leaving them with no information and only a negative first impression. Maybe not something that was unfixable in a different scenario, but our DM had no idea this was going to happen, so stealing the MacGuffin backfired hard when it charmed his character. Enter the monk. Fair enough to make a placeholder character in order to get your original back, but come on, you gotta put a little effort into them. At least the monk had the tie to the party, unlike his elf, but it was so paper thin I would hardly call him an ally. Which would prove to be a good call, since he, quote, aided them by actively not helping in combat and screaming at everyone for defending themselves in a losing situation against the psionic. While it certainly fueled the fire, I don't blame Ranger one bit for just saying screw it and shooting her lethally because again, she had done nothing except screw the party in the last encounter and had zero ties with them. A lot of this behavior really makes sense in the epilogue of the story after hearing about the other game that Triple Me was in. He was clearly used to getting preferential treatment and just assumed that the other players and DM would kowtow to him, and let him call the shots like his DM friend did. This is entirely the wrong attitude to bring when playing a game that puts a lot of emphasis on collaboration and cooperation. Either you're going to get your way and everyone else is going to get annoyed at being second fiddle, or you're going to get shut down and sulk about how unfair it is that your really cool original character isn't being admired the way that she's supposed to be. I know a lot of that guy players are attracted to the edgelord archetype, but it's not a bad character concept, it's just the execution that more often than not fails. Give your edgy character a reason to stay with the party, whether it be good or bad. Slowly grow and expand your character's personality through RP with other players or NPCs, and sprinkle in little hints and reveals of your big, dark, tragic backstory, and I guarantee you'll get people that are actually interested and want to know more about your character. This is a lesson that I hope Triple Me has learned at some point, but considering OP said that there's more to his antics, I doubt that's the case. Anyways, thanks for checking out my video and sticking around till the end. Hopefully you found it entertaining. I upload new content every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, so make sure you check out my channel for more D&D stories. And if you like this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and leave me a goosebump in the comments below. Your feedback and support is appreciated. But until next time, be good players.